So welcome to our live stream caregiver class. We actually have our friends that are also tuning in through online. And we have our attendants here. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm Marta Rañón. I am the Director of Government and Community Affairs for Southern Caregiver Resource Center. And this is a topic that has been requested a lot from us in the past. So my goal is to kind of put things into perspective, how we can identify some of the challenges with mealtime, and then figure out some ways to manage those to help you as caregivers. Okay, sound like a plan? And we'll try to do this within an hour. All right, so this is my objective, and you know, if it rings true to you, let me know. But identify what our expectations are. We're really going to talk about expectations. Respond to some of the possible challenges in the eating behavior that we're seeing as caregivers. And then what are some healthy and energizing meals for the caregiver? We can't forget about us. And I think that sometimes we do. And we say we should not eat this, but we eat that anyway, or we say we should eat better, but then we don't follow our own advice. So I just want to remind you that everything we talk about, it includes self-care. So this is definitely a part of our conversation today, right? Okay, so I have a little picture here of our expectations, right? But then we have reality. Does that make sense? Do you agree with me? That sometimes we have these wonderful expectations and we're going to do this, and then it goes all over the place before we even reach the goal, right? So if that brings, and this can be applied to everything. It doesn't even have to just be mealtime. It can be to a lot of different things. Vacation, going to the mall, going to a restaurant. So it can really be applied to a lot. Oops. So I like visuals, and I think what we need to do is we need to keep in mind what our goals are. What is our goal? Why are we here? You know, are we here so we can learn about tips to have a more successful mealtime at home? Then if that's the goal, then that's what we're going to work towards. Okay, so I want you to ask yourself these questions, okay? What do I hope to accomplish? What are my expectations? And do I have another plan? And I know it sounds really simple, right? But sometimes as caregivers, we don't think about going beyond what we want to do. We want to feed the person. The person needs to eat. But what's going to happen if the person doesn't want to eat? Or doesn't want to eat what you're giving them? So then what? Do we have another plan? So I want you to, right now, think about it. Maybe shout out, what are some of the challenges that you have experienced as caregiving, while caregiving for someone during mealtime? What have been some of the challenges?
Just doesn't want to eat.
Doesn't want to eat.
This is really good. I'm going to eat it later.
Ah. So the person you're caring for is probably saying, being nice and saying, I don't want to hurt your feelings, but I'll eat it later. You know, it's interesting because my kids do that too sometimes.
So we have a refrigerator full of later.
Ah, refrigerator full of later. Does that happen to you as well? Mm-hmm. Any other challenges? When I was a caregiver, I remember I was caring for my great aunt, specifically a time when I had given her, it was chicken, rice, and some sort of a veggie. And I gave her a plate. And she said, oh no, I don't eat fish. And so I said, well, it's not fish. Well, that looks like fish, I'm not going to eat it. That was a challenge. I know it's not fish. All of a sudden, she doesn't eat fish. She's always eaten fish. So now what do I do, right? Any other challenges that you see that happen during this time? And maybe for our friends at home, maybe you can write down some of those challenges that are coming to mind as you ponder these questions. But I'm sure there are a lot. And we're going to explore some of them. But here is a list that I made compiled from conversations that I've had with caregivers who have given me their experiences, and see if that rings true to all of you, okay? Unable to sense when hungry or full. I'm not really hungry. You haven't eaten all day. Or I'm really full. What? Refuses food even though hasn't eaten for hours, right? I'll eat it later. Full of laters, okay? Asks for another meal just after having finished eating. That's interesting, right? Because your stomach gets full and it sends the signal to your brain, okay, I'm already full. But for some reason, that signal's not being sent, or they're not identifying as being full. So now what? What do?
I feed him.
You feed him again?
I feed him again. I'm happy that he wants to eat this. And usually it's because I'm on the phone, I have company, and he wants attention. And if
Oh.
he wants attention with food, hallelujah. Because
So
he's
it's a
losing weight.
so you are identifying that it's associated to attention, and so by you giving him food is his way of getting your attention. So that's also an interesting way to manage that, because if you know that the person's not eating, let's say in the morning or in the evening, but during the midday they want a meal, and then they eat the meal and then they want more, and you're saying, well, at least he's eating. But see, this is what I'm saying about expectations, right? The expectation of eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner is we can't do that, right? It's not there for you. So then we got to shift that expectation, okay? So here's another list. Puts too much food in the mouth. And sometimes when people do that, they can choke, right? And or if they have issues with dentures, that can be a problem. Eats too quickly or swallows without chewing. Choking hazard, right? Complains that food is not appetizing. Again, using my example with my aunt, she liked oatmeal. But for some reason, when I would give her oatmeal, she would look at it and just be like, I'm not going to eat that. Why do you think that is? Any guesses?
I don't think that she understands what's in the bowl.
Exactly. Maybe if you think about oatmeal, okay, I want you to visualize a bowl of oatmeal. What does it look like? Yeah, you went like this, right? It looks ugly. It's like mush, right? It's not even colorful. It looks like not appetizing by any means. So then I had to get creative and do what with it? Kind of dress it up a little, right? Maybe some fruit, brown sugar, honey, whatever it was, milk. And then that changed her perception of what she was going to eat. Because in her mind, I'm not going to eat that. That looks like nothing. Utensils might be confusing. Okay, how many of you have gone to a really fancy restaurant and you have the salad fork, the main course fork, 2 cups, the bread bowl or the bread dish, and you have all of this stuff? Is that something you can take a person that maybe has dementia or memory loss and sit them like that? So what do we need to do? Minimize it as much as we can. And something to be kind of keep in mind is, and maybe we don't notice it because we're so used to this, but think about your utensils, okay? Just think about your own forks and spoons and knives. How heavy are they? And they're metal. How does metal feel? Cold, right? So if I am a little maybe debilitated in my hands and my muscles and my sensory, perception and all of these issues are kind of coming together, and you give me a heavy, cold fork that's big, I probably am going to struggle. So what do a lot of times people do? How do they eat? With their hands, right? And so then I've seen this where caregivers are so embarrassed that their mom is eating with their hands. Mom, stop doing that. That's embarrassing. Use your fork. But maybe she cannot communicate. It's too heavy. It's too cold. I don't want to use it. So then, what is the option? What is the change in our expectation?
I put it in a sandwich.
Sandwich. Yeah, if you're going to use your fingers.
They can hold in their hands to eat.
Yes.
Because this is too much. This is too much.
It's too much.
All of the movement that we make to get the food to our mouth when their brain is compromised and their body as well. We have to make it as easy as we can. So I make sure I got a lot of protein in it.
Yeah, so they can eat it. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's wonderful. You know, carrots that you can dip, grapes, oranges, finger foods, like you said, finger foods that you don't necessarily have to cut. People might not be able, especially if they have dementia or some sort of memory loss, what do they do with the food? You know, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to grab this hunk of meat and just tear at it? You're telling me to do what with it? I don't know how to do that. Cutting it. So then we need to cut it for them, or maybe just do it differently, different types of meats. Okay, so I have this picture because sometimes the people that we are caring for or ourselves we have to figure out what it is that they're telling us. Now, all of us who are being caregivers are more in tune with the person that we are caring for. So we might be able to decipher, he just wants attention. That's why he wants more food. You know that because you live with that person, you know that person. You might say, well, she's not eating it because she doesn't like the way it looks. So what are we doing here? We are becoming detectives, right? We're trying to figure out, and it's so simple, right? You might even ask the question, how come you're not eating your food? I'll eat it later. But why is it that you haven't answered the question? So there's no point in trying to rationalize. So then we have to figure out for them what is happening. So I have here a list, and this might help you to kind of figure out as you are caring for that person and going through the experience of eating. A person that has dementia might go through different steps. And so the first step might be level 1. The person's independent, but may need help with the food being prepared. So for example, you might not want necessarily the person to cook over a hot stove, so you might need to get it ready and plate it for them. Okay. Level 2, the person might be less independent. More dependent on you, less independent themselves. And so they need reminders. It's time to eat. You might want to take some water. Just you're kind of helping them finish the meal. Okay? Level 3, you might need to give them more assistance. And you might even see people playing more with food. And we say playing, but really it's just that they're trying to hold it with their hands versus the knife and fork. Or even, what is that? And like squishing it. And, I know we tell kids don't play with your food, but if you think about it, that person might be trying to figure out what is that and how do I eat this? And may forget to use utensils or just not be able and therefore not communicate. So it sounds like you already are familiar with these levels. How about level 4? The person needs more assistance and might be able to tolerate some foods, might not be. And what I'm saying that, when I say that, I also am talking about their mouth, their teeth, their dentures. So if a person has a hard time chewing, maybe a big hunk of meat is not going to be the option. Maybe like how you were saying, maybe a sandwich with lots of protein, thin slices of, turkey, ham, something.
Or even ground up the meat.
And do it like, And there are so many ways to do that. I mean, empanadas, right? They have ground beef and vegetables, and you kind of eat it like a sandwich. So that's also an option. It doesn't necessarily have to be, again, changing the expectations, a big piece of meat with sides that we are serving. And then level 5 might need complete assistance. And And it could be where you are kind of sitting there or standing over the person to make sure that they don't choke, that they swallow, that they don't keep the food inside their mouth. And this is where it really bogs down caregivers, right? Because you're not eating. Right? When you're caring for someone, at that point you're not eating. You're making sure the person eats. So you either need to eat before or after. And this is where I'm saying that as caregivers we need to adjust our expectations, because at this point we can say, well, maybe somebody can help me while I eat. Or can you get my food ready while I feed, mom? So this is kind of thinking outside the box a little. Okay, so now we're going to talk about how do we manage some of these challenges, okay? So let me know if this is true for you. Have you thought about letting go of those expectations? Maybe not in the moment, right? Yeah? Aim for a quiet and calm atmosphere. So going to soup plantation, yay or nay? Way too loud, way too crowded, too many choices, right? That's probably a really bad place to take someone with dementia. Maintain a mealtime routine, but be flexible. And I say that because I know that we're all really busy and sometimes we're going from one place to another. But if we're going to drastically change the mealtime and the person cannot say, I'm hungry, but then they start acting out because they're hungry, but you don't know what's going on. Well, it's because it's 2 o'clock and they haven't eaten since, 11:30. So maybe they're hungry. So, but being flexible because that maybe the person's not so hungry that they want a big meal. Keep the table setting simple. And another tip that I might suggest is think of your table settings. So if you have a brown table, like this right here, and you put a brown, table setting, a brown mat, and then your plate is brown, and you have a brown cup, what does that look like? There is no contrast. So if I have a problem with seeing depth perception, everything looks like one thing. So then we really need to be aware of how we are plating the food as well. Limit choices. So we already said no soup plantation, right? Here's some more. Small portions. I actually talked to a caregiver who was saying, and Thanksgiving's right around the corner, right? So she was saying that she was doing the turkey and the dinner and the sides and everything that goes with making a Thanksgiving meal. And so the person was given a big plate of food. Person had dementia, Alzheimer's, and he was just having a hard time. He was so overwhelmed by the noise, by all the food, by the sounds, the smells. What do I do with this? How do I eat it? And they were properly sitting, with the napkins and trying to cut the meal. It was a disaster. So we also need to think about that as the holidays are coming around, around the corner, and also as we're getting together with other people. So this is something that I suggest. I heard this from a caregiver who said that her dad was always eating throughout the day. Never really a meal. Never really would sit for a meal. So she had a hard time because he didn't want to participate. He didn't want to cooperate. And she was just having, I can't be feeding you all day. I would never leave the kitchen. So what we were talking about is having healthy snacks available. Maybe in the middle of the dining room table, a bowl of fruit. A bowl of fruit that can be easily, obtained. Don't put a watermelon and a pineapple, but maybe some small apples and grapes or something that he could grab. Granolas, little bags of, something that would be healthy. But also for you. Because let's say you're really hungry, and we've all been there, right? We get hangry, hungry and angry at the same time. Let's say we're really hungry, and we're feeding the person that we are caring for, and he or she is not cooperating, and I just want to eat. So maybe we just grab a little snack while we are feeding the person, then at least that kind of takes care of our needs, and then later on we can have a meal without being upset. We do want you to promote independence when possible. And so it's the choosing the dishes and eating tools that can help. So what do I mean by that? Well, if you're going to serve, think of a plate, right? Think of your plates. Plates are usually flat. So if you're going to serve spaghetti, right, we usually serve it in a plate. How easy do you think it is to chase the noodles around? Or the meatball, right? There's going to be a mess. Or rice. You know, sometimes I look at my kids and there's rice all over the table because I served it in a plate. So what I'm trying to tell people is you can change your expectations. Use a bowl. A bowl is contained. It's okay. Nobody's going to judge you because you're using the wrong plate. It allows the person to kind of hit the food on the side and able to get it onto the utensil. Also, maybe some utensils that are plastic. During the summer, I see a lot of plasticware. You know, outdoors, people want to eat outside. And so maybe getting a set of plasticware instead of our heavy utensils, because those are lighter. We talked about soup. I think somebody said soup earlier, or maybe I was thinking it. Soup. How difficult do you think or challenging it could be to eat a bowl of soup?
My husband wouldn't be able to. I'd have to put it in a glass or a cup.
A cup, exactly. Getting a cup of soup with a handle, and maybe a plastic cup with a handle and a plastic utensil, and maybe serving a little bit, at a time, having the person eat from a cup. It's okay. It's okay. So here are some suggestions. Here are some other ones. Hydration. We forget about staying hydrated. You know, we're running around caring for that person, but this also stays true for us. How much water do you drink a day? Guilty. Not that much, right? We should be drinking more. How about enough time to enjoy the meal? We're always rushing. And that's where I'm saying the expectations, right? So if you only have an hour to eat lunch, maybe you plan more time around lunchtime. You know, to allow for those challenges in case they happen, to allow you to ease into the transition of eating a meal. Okay? So as the disease progresses, be aware of the choking hazards. Be also aware of that sometimes people might not be able to taste, their taste buds might change. So if something tastes really, really bad for that person, you know, they might want to spit it out and not chew it. So then just know they really don't like that, and just not even give them that. Dental checkups, you know, oral assessments, keep the teeth and the mouth clean and healthy. You know, they might not be able to tell you, I think I have a cavity here, so that's why I can't chew. So then you figuring out what's going on. Do these make sense? Yeah. Okay, so here's where we have a little bit of participation. Out of all of these, which ones can we give and which ones can we not give to that person?
All of them you can give.
It's a trick question. Yes. All of them. If you notice on the top, I put comfort food. And sometimes caregivers get really particular, right? They say, no, she cannot have anything sweet. You know, we're watching, you know, their sweet intake. Still do that. But don't deny them the comfort of maybe having something that makes them happy. And sometimes, you know, neurologists or doctors might tell you, hey, they deserve it. They want some ice cream, give them the ice cream, right? Maybe just don't do all of this at once. Don't do this at every sitting. What do you do for comfort food?
Well, if he refuses to eat dinner, he gets a bowl of ice cream with a power bar chopped up in it and a banana.
That's awesome.
And then he
Bowl of
needs
ice
to
cream.
have to wash it down, a protein drink. And then I know he's okay. Even though he didn't eat his dinner, I know he's had enough calories and protein. He'll be okay.
That is an amazing suggestion. Bowl of ice cream, chopped up power bar, banana, protein drink. I mean, yes, that totally works. How about a shake that you put maybe some spinach and greens, vegetables, or maybe some powder like protein powder. I know they sell like peanut butter powder. Yeah, and then it makes it tasty, but it's also you're giving them the extra calories. So absolutely, absolutely. And can we also treat ourselves to some of these?
No.
Yeah, we can.
No.
Just a treat, just a little treat. If you have had a really bad day, whatever makes you happy. What makes me happy, seriously, is in the morning or in the evening. Usually in the morning during the weekends, I like to have my cup of coffee and read. But towards the end of the day, I like to have my cup of tea and read. That makes me happy. It's really simple. I don't put any sugar, so not to add the calories. But that makes me happy. So maybe some of this might be, you can say, okay, once a week, it's Friday, I can have my ice cream.
Or I could have a sugar-free popsicle.
Or sugar-free. There's so many options now. Sugar-free ice cream, sugar-free. Yeah. Did I even put it up there? Sugar-free popsicle. Okay. So now it's time for the caregiver, right? We cannot forget about ourselves. So we need to make sure that we are eating healthy, but that we're also eating food that gives us the energy, right? So we might think about what kind of food we're eating so that we don't feel so bogged down that we don't want to do anything. Eating healthy throughout the day is good. So really watch what you're eating. Not because I'm putting you on a diet or we need to watch like every single thing. I mean, we just talked about comfort food. But it's just, it kind of adds up. You want to stay as healthy as possible so you can take care of that person. Carry healthy snacks. We all have purses. We all have, our cars. We can put a little baggie of power bars and maybe water, fruit, oranges, apples, bananas that we can just kind of eat throughout the day when we get hungry. Nuts, staying hydrated, and then planning meals ahead. I know I'm guilty of saying, okay, it's 5 o'clock. What are we going to eat for dinner? What am I doing? So maybe thinking, okay, so I guess tonight we want to make spaghetti, so then I need to make sure I have everything to make spaghetti, and then I know where I'm going when I get home. I don't have to figure it out. By making a lot of food, you can just unfreeze it and it's done, right? Here are some more. How many of you are cooks? Okay, good. So maybe you can give us some tips on how do you make it easier for yourself, for meals.
Oh, I do a large meal, and then I freeze it up in small packages so that I can just, and then I have foods from Costco that are easy, like salmon patties.
Yes.
That are easy to prepare
And
stick in a sandwich again. He's at the stage where it's easier to eat.
To do a sandwich.
Sandwich and fours. He's still only going to eat half. No matter what I prepare, he's only going to eat half.
Okay.
And he cannot have a lot of food on the plate because it's too overwhelming.
It's too much, yeah. So then definitely preparing ahead of time. Sometimes we can ask others, how can we help you? And we don't have an answer. But maybe a quick answer could be, how about a gift certificate for, food? So I can grab something on my way. That can be something that kind of takes it away from you. We're talking about rewarding ourselves with comfort food. It's okay. It's our goal, something we look forward to. Really, these last three, I really want you to think about, because I know it's easier said than done, but if you plan it, it might be something that you're able to do. prepare and share a meal with a friend. You know, you could do it in your house while you're caregiving, you know, especially if the friend knows about your situation. And they can bring certain things and you make it kind of like a, you know, a fun time together, and then we all eat, right? Or you can go to their house for a little respite and prepare a meal. Eating outside. I mean, we live in San Diego. We are so lucky. We have such beautiful weather. What is it, 363 days out of the year? You know, those other days are horrible. So eat outside. Enjoy the sun. You know, go outside in your patio if you're able to. And then have dessert. Notice how I put reward yourself and have dessert. It's okay. We need to enjoy ourselves as well, what makes us happy. Okay. So before I go into the other one, do you have any questions or the other things that you want to suggest, mention to others that might be helpful? Those of you that are caregiving or had experience with caregiving, what is your biggest challenge?
Getting him out of bed and eating.
And eating. Getting him out of bed and eating. So would it be possible then to bring the food to...
No, because it would never end. He would never get out of bed.
It will create more work for you.
Well, that and the fact that then everything will be in bed. You will not get out of bed.
So maybe we think about the expectations and the goals. And if the person you notice that is really hesitant or resisting food, and the only way they will eat food is if the food comes to them, what is your goal? Is it to have them eat? I mean, sometimes we need to kind of think about that.
Both goals. I have to get him out of bed, or he will.
He'll stay there all day.
Well, yes, and his muscles will
Yeah.
relax and be terrible. So I do a dance around it. It's showtime all the time.
It's showtime all the time, yep.
And I make an excuse that you have to go with me to do something. And he reluctantly gets up and has his meal. Yeah, that's what I do.
That's good. I used to get my aunt out of bed because she wouldn't get out of bed either. And so I needed to feed her. And so I kind of would start with the dessert idea.
Yes.
She was all into coffee and her cookie. And so I said, hey, you know, I've made some coffee, and you can smell it, you know. Made some coffee. I have some fresh cookies. Do you want to have some with me? And then she would get up, and she was more motivated because there was a reward at the end. And at that point, I would kind of do what you were doing in terms of I didn't necessarily give her ice cream, but the idea of like the oatmeal with the fruit and like load it up so that was a healthier meal. She still had her cookies, she still had her coffee. The coffee had Ensure to give more vitamins and minerals in there. So there are just so many ways that you can get creative. It just depends on what your situation is. Now, if you are a caregiver who has someone to assist you, then maybe you can tag team, but you know, you're eat first while the person's getting out of bed, and then you can trade or whatever it is so that you have someone you don't have to do it all yourself. That might help. Yeah.
Because if you have the title as wife, they won't get out of bed. But if you have a title as nurse or somebody visiting,
They'll get out of it,
they
yeah.
get out of bed. Oh, they'll do everything for them.
And you can use that, you know, if you have a daughter, if you have a son, if you have a friend that they respond to better than you because you have the title of, like you say, wife or daughter, then use that to your advantage. Hey, you know, Lissa's here. Let's go see what she's up to. She's in the back. Oh, okay, well, let me get ready. But if it were for you, it's like, I'll just stay here. So use that to your advantage. I used to use my dog. My dog would wake up my aunt, and she was so excited to see the dog, and the dog was so excited to see her, and she would lick her hand and everything. And so that, I was just, okay, come on in. So that would help me get her up while I got her breakfast and get her ready for the day. So it does, you know, there are some ways that you can have other people or other pets help you. Okay, so I do want to talk about our services, and I know what we call professional caregivers as well, so people who do this for a living. And so a lot of times they might check us out on our, on YouTube and online, but we really focus 100% on the caregiver. And what we do is we understand what you're coming from, the challenges associated with caregiving. We've been around for 31 years, and so it is a heavy toll that it takes on the caregiver to do all this work, to be on 24/7. And so if you call us, you get connected with us, we will assess your situation, let you figure out what it is that you need so we can help you create a care plan, and then kind of work with you one-on-one from there. We have specialized information, so we have a library upstairs that you can check books out and learn more about certain topics. We have short-term counseling, so we have our licensed therapists that can work with you one-on-one for 6 free sessions and focus 100% on the caregiving situation. Legal and financial, a lot of time caregivers don't know what to do in their current situation, right? Should I sell all my assets so that I can place mom in long-term care facility? What do I do? Everything's too expensive. So we work with elder law attorneys, and we will pay for your first consultation to see how they can help you. We also provide respite care, right? Who couldn't use a break? And really the idea is there for self-care. We want you to take a break. We want you to care for yourself, because we understand that if you don't do that, you can't be an effective caregiver. So we want you to have a break without the excuse of I can't do that, and we'll pay for that. We also have support groups throughout San Diego County, English and Spanish, and education and training is what I do. So we actually have a couple of classes that are coming up. So I know you've seen the series that has that border with different colors. I think the next class is coming up in, what are we? In November 14th, and the topic of that class is Caring for the Caregiver. And we also have a workshop this Friday at Logan Heights Library, and it's on focusing on diabetes and also what is dementia. So the connection between the two and how it could affect people in their health. And then we have another conference on November 2nd. It's 8:30 to 2 p.m. at the First United Methodist Church in San Diego. You can visit our website to get more information or give us a call. But it's called The Economics of Caregiving. And this is really, really interesting because we're going to talk about Social Security, Medicare, the essential documents so you can have, healthcare directives, power of attorney. We're going to have what is the best way to pay for long-term care. A lot of the questions that caregivers have that maybe haven't had a chance to ask someone. And these are going to be attorneys that are going to do this presentation. And it's free, and we're putting it together. So if you are interested, give us a call, 858-268-4432. And maybe what I can do right now is put the phone number, because you can RSVP by November 2nd to ensure your space. We'll have food, and it should be very informative. So we're always having these classes, hopefully, to help you as caregivers and find ways to better manage your situation. Now, I am going to go back because I do want to talk about the need. We understand that the caregiver demographics are changing. It's no longer as much as we used to see the spouse caring for their spouse, but now it's younger. So we are seeing the sandwich generation caregiver more and more. So if the person is working full-time and caring for their children full-time, and then caring for their mom or dad full-time, when do you have time to do anything? So we are always looking for opportunities to go to the employer and say, hey, since your staff is here and it looks like they might benefit from our classes, allow us to come to your place of work, and we will do these lunch and learns so that they don't have to leave. Yeah. Outreach to Caregivers is actually a program that we have, and it used to be in the South Bay, but it's now throughout San Diego County, and it focuses on family caregivers who are caring for someone who has Alzheimer's, memory loss, or dementia. And we kind of go through the process of what is that and how do you manage, and it's a series of 4 classes, and we encourage people to sign up. And we have my colleague Rosario here who can sign you up and let you know if you're interested, where you can go for a class. Again, it's all free. And then we have our Operation Family Caregiver program, which is for military and veteran families who are caring for someone with traumatic brain injury or post-traumatic stress disorder. And it's also a different demographic because a lot of these families are younger, with younger kids, and it's like we know caregiving is a lot of work, so we want to make it easier for families to manage and deal with their current situation. So again, I'm going to put this here. I always encourage you to visit our website because a lot of these, even this class, will be put online, so you can always watch it and go back and look at the tips. It's caregivercenter.org. Again, if you're interested in one of our workshops, you can give us a call or you can sign up online. Any questions? No? That's okay. That's okay. Okay, so I think we're done. We finished a little early, but I just wanted to be here. If anybody wants to go upstairs to get more connected, let me know. All right, thank you.